So yes, today we're going to be talking about improving productivity through the magic of technology. My name is Jack Bedell-Pierce. I'm the Managing Director of 4D. Some quick introductions. This is what we do. We are a data center owner-operator. It's one of two data centers that we own. That's the one in Gatwick, just around the corner from here. We've got another data center over in Byfleet. Broadly speaking, that's what you'll find inside a data center. It's a big room full of air conditioning units, lots of racks where we can put people's servers. We do site tours every couple of months as well, and that's what it looks like inside one of the actual racks itself. Co-location, which is what this is one of the few things that I probably won't be talking much about at all today, you'll be pleased to hear. We also do cloud. We're a public and private cloud provider. We do connectivity, and we also do cyber security as well. So, better business through broadband, or as I like to say, it's boring, but you need it. First of all, the bad news. Broadband, as I'm sure you all know, it connects all of your businesses to the internet. A lot of people underestimate how important broadband is to their company. It's only when you take a step back and you look at all of the services that your company runs, from email to business websites to marketing, from things like Twitter and Facebook, recruitment, LinkedIn, suppliers, buying stuff off people, e-learning, the cloud generally. Pretty much everything a modern company now has to run goes through the internet. So having a good internet connection is really important. So I want to have a very quick survey of the room. So first of all, can you put your hand up if you use the internet as part of your work on a daily basis? Brilliant, as we expected. If you keep your hands up, please, thank you very much. Who has suffered either slow or buggy internet over the course of the last year? Keep your hands up if you have. Okay, and who suffered a total outage in the course of the last year? Keep your hand up if the internet's gone down completely for you. So probably just around about half of the room has suffered a total internet failure. So that's actually quite interesting because it actually fits some of the reports and statistics that people have looked at when they look at the scale of the problem. So Imperial College and Opinium did a survey in 2017 based on people's experience in 2016. They came to the conclusion that the UK businesses as a whole had 149 million hours worth of lost productivity due to internet downtime. They worked out that it comes to around about £12 billion worth of lost productivity. And when they looked at the types of companies and what kind of impact it would have on their businesses, 13% of firms pretty much start losing money immediately. The moment their internet goes down, they start losing money. A lot of those companies will be companies that are doing things like streaming. Perhaps they've got a transactional website that they're running in their office, but basically the moment it goes down, you're losing money. 28% start losing money after an hour. So that's probably quite a few companies in this room. When the internet goes down, you've probably still got access to your emails, so you can still write emails. Maybe you're working on a Word document or something like that, and it's on your local PC. You're not going to lose anything from there. So yeah, around about a quarter. Just under half will start losing money after 4 hours. So that's after you've written all of your draft emails, you've finished your PowerPoint presentation, you've cleared out the stationery cupboard. That's when you get to the point where nearly half the companies start losing money. So it's a pretty important thing. So what is the cost to a business when the internet goes down? Well, the average cost they calculated to a UK business was this. So small businesses, solely people lose about £41. Medium-sized companies, which I suspect is probably the majority of this room, around about £4,000 cost for when the internet goes down for more than 4 hours. And for large businesses, that cost can be up to £500,000. Slow internet is bad as well, so you don't have to have lost productivity just because your internet goes off completely. Slow internet can be caused by problems with your ISP, so perhaps your ISP is being attacked, being DDoS attacked or something like that. Sometimes you have high contention ratios, so this was very important back when ADSL came out and everyone was saying you're going to have super fast broadband. Early adopters found that their internet was brilliant because they were the first ones there. They weren't sharing that internet connection with anybody else. As more and more people joined, the contention ratios, the number of people connecting to that same local exchange increased, and so therefore for everybody that internet went down. You get noisy neighbours as well. So this is slightly different from contention. Sometimes you can have just somebody either in your office, in your building office, or perhaps down the road who is just thrashing the internet, and that can cause problems for everybody else. So noisy neighbours can cause problems for you. Or even within your own company. Derek, downloading dodgy films. If you've got somebody in there watching iPlayer, or somebody who's downloading BitTorrents or something like that, they can also inadvertently cause a slowdown for everybody else in the office. There are things you can do to stop that kind of thing from going on, and you can do that with things like managed firewalls and managed routers, but we'll talk about that a bit later. So UK office workers lose approximately 40 minutes a day to slow broadband. And that's not outages, that's just slow internet. So that's basically when you click on something, nothing really happens, and you go off and do something else. They calculated that 21 days are wasted every single year per person, and they reckon it worked out at about £2,100 per person per year. Now, for me, that sounded like a lot. You know, one organisation is going to be losing just over £2,000 per employee due to slow internet, but even at a quarter of that, £500 per employee per year is a lot of money to lose because you've got a slow internet connection. So what are the opportunity costs of having slow broadband? Your cloud-based services and your emails are potentially going to be slow. Any SaaS products that you're trying to connect to may not work properly. You will limit the ability for remote workers to be able to work as well. So if you've got your servers inside your office and you've got a not particularly fast or reliable internet connection, then basically anybody who's working from home trying to connect into those servers, they're going to have a difficult time, and it's not going to be great for them. It's also going to annoy some staff who are at the company. Millennials in particular, they join a company and they find that they can't actually connect to their CRM system, or they can't connect to whatever cloud-based system your company is using. That's going to frustrate them, and again, that could potentially lead to higher turnover if they can't get their job, if they can't actually do their job. And it also limits your future growth, limits your ability to be able to move into the cloud. And also, if you are a company that relies on the internet for selling your services or your products, then again, it could potentially limit your growth. So a rough cost to a small to medium-sized company, this is 20 people. This is based on all of the data that I looked at earlier. If backups aren't working, then you could potentially lose data. If you've got slow broadband, you've potentially got 410 days lost productivity. Which works out at around about £10,000 for the company as a whole. If you have an outage, which half the room did, that could potentially cost you another £4,000 in lost productivity. You end up with annoyed staff, with higher recruitment costs, and broadly speaking, a bad internet connection could cost you up to £14,000 in lost productivity, recruitment fees, and other things, other factors. So what are our options? So there are loads of internet products out there at the moment. I'm going to go through a couple of them very quickly. This graph here, on the right-hand side, we've got speed. So at the bottom, we've got, this is not obviously to scale because it shoots up between 35 meg and 80 meg. But basically, you've got what we would call broadband in the first quartile, or sorry, first third. In the second third, you've got ultra-fast broadband. And then the top, you've got enterprise-grade broadband. Down the bottom here, I've also shown a graph of the amount of support or service level agreements you would get with that internet connection, and hopefully you'll see there's a correlation between what you pay and how good your support is. So we've got three different types of technology here as well. We've got copper lines, which is the old type of technology, copper fiber combinations, which is things like fiber to the cabinet, which some of you will have at the moment, and then you've got pure fiber lines. So in the bottom left-hand corner, this is old technology. This was probably back in the 80s and 90s. You've got dial-up. Some companies still use dial-up, amazingly, not many. ADSL and then ADSL 2+. ADSL 2+ was supposed to herald the next generation of the internet. Didn't really live up to its promise. The 20 to 24 meg download speed that it promised, I don't think anybody's ever got that speed apart from people in BT inside their labs. You've then got some other technology. So you've got something called EFM, which not many people know about. EFM stands for Ethernet First Mile. And that is basically where you connect an Ethernet connection, you connect a copper connection from your office back to an exchange, and you basically have almost a fiber connection. That's been around for quite a long time. It will give you a reliable internet connection of around about 40 meg, and it's pretty good. The support levels are pretty good. Oops. And then in the top right-hand corner, we've got 100 meg lease line. That's a fiber connection. That's also been around for a long time. The big difference with that is that the costs of 100 meg lease line have come down a lot over the last few years. More recently, we've got FTTC, which stands for fiber to the cabinet, and we've got FTTP, which stands for fiber to the premise. And we've got Ethernet over fiber to the cabinet, which is a bit more reliable, and it's a cross between fiber to the premise and EFM, so it's somewhere in the middle. And then lastly, we've got G.fast. Now, G.fast has started to roll out. This is BT's new technology. It's their answer to fiber to the cabinet. They're calling it the next generation of super fast internet. They reckon that could go at around about 330 meg. It's being rolled out in limited cities around the UK at the moment, and will be interesting to see what happens. I suspect that it's going to be a similar story to Fibre to the Cabinet. Areas where they're going to be able to make the most money quickly, they'll roll it out. Other areas where residential density or business density isn't particularly high, they're probably going to hold back. I know for Manor Royal, there had to be a bit of a fight for them to get Fibre to the Cabinet installed. So I suspect the same thing will be true of G.fast, because there's quite a large capital investment that needs to be made in order to roll out G.fast. So what does it cost you per year? This is something that you probably won't see very often in one page, but these are all of the costs of broadband internet connections for a company every year. ADSL roughly is around about £204 to £288. You've then got these ultra-fast connections. So you've got EFM, which is quite expensive at about £1,800. Fibre to the Cabinet, pretty cheap, but again, you're not going to be getting particularly great support with that. And then G.fast is coming out just under £900 a year. Then in the top right-hand corner, we've got the fibre connections. You can see a 100 meg lease line, around about £3,500. A 1 gig line is just under £5,000, and a 10 gig line is £12,000. 10 gig is enterprise level. I think companies like Virgin Atlantic will probably have a 10 gig line, but for most normal companies, they wouldn't. What's interesting is that the cost of a 1 gig line has come down as quickly as the 100 meg line over the course of the last couple of years. So whereas this would probably have cost you about £10,000 even 2 or 3 years ago, that's pretty much halved in the last couple of years. So this is pretty good value for money, bearing in mind you get very, very good levels of technical support. These two technologies as well, you're not sharing them with anybody else. So a 100 meg internet connection on a lease line is you are getting a 100 meg internet connection, both download and upload. So looking at this picture here, let's get rid of some of the unrealistic options. These ones here, they're all legacy. You're probably going to struggle to actually buy these nowadays because people haven't been using them for a while, so we're going to get rid of those. FTTP and Ethernet over Fibre to the Cabinet, again, kind of limited availability. If you can get them, that's great, use them, but a lot of companies can't find them in their area. Only big companies really use the 10 gig, as I said, so we'll get rid of that. And G.fast is not widely available yet, so we're going to get rid of that. And so this is kind of the picture of what companies can really get nowadays in terms of their broadband internet connection. So the cost of upgrading, well, if you're on ADSL2, you want to get off that. It's a very legacy old technology. You really want to be working hard to get on Fibre to the Cabinet. If Fibre to the Cabinet is in your area and you're on ADSL, just move straight away. The cost difference is negligible, and you do get a far faster internet connection. Moving from Fibre to the Cabinet to a gig, it's a big jump financially, but you do get significantly more reliable and better internet connectivity. And on top of that, you also get much better technical support. And that's not just from us, from companies like BT or Virgin, who are the main suppliers of this kind of technology. You just generally are going to have somebody who's going to pick up the phone and help you with a problem. If you want reliability, if you don't want slow internet connection, that's the one you want to be going for. If you can stretch another £1,200 a year to get the 1 gig line, do. It's worth the money. You are never going to run out of internet connectivity if you're a small to medium-sized business. Going up to 100 people, I'd be amazed if you managed to max out your 1 gig line. So those are the costs. How can they boost productivity? Well, taking everything into account, some things are worth paying a little bit more for, I find. Surgeons, criminal lawyers, and of course, good broadband. It's not expensive as you think. As I said, if you're a small business, if you have under 50 people and your turnover, I believe, is under, I think it's £10 million. Sorry? 49, thank you. Then you could potentially be eligible for a free government voucher scheme, which basically means they'll pay for your setup, which is great news for SMEs. Sussex Council are pushing really hard for local businesses to try and take that up at the moment. It can cost as little as £275 for a 1 gig internet connection. I know that because that's how much we sell our 1 gig internet connections on Manor Royal. It does vary. 1 gig internet connections do very much depend on how far away your business is located from a local exchange. So you do need to talk to people, but £275 a month for significantly better internet, that's pretty good value. It makes your company more productive for all of those reasons that I spoke about earlier. Hopefully it'll make your staff happier because they're not going to be waiting for the internet. Facebook and YouTube as well, but also their CRM system, things like Salesforce and things like that. It should hopefully make them a lot more productive. And it hopefully enables you to take advantage of everything the internet has to offer. So a lot of companies, when they're looking at migrating into the cloud, and we'll talk about that in the next slide deck, one of the considerations is, do I have enough broadband bandwidth inside my company to be able to take on us moving from, let's say, our email, which is hosted in-house, onto the cloud? Do we have enough broadband speed to move our CRM system, which is currently sitting in our in-house server, onto Salesforce? Because that's a lot of extra data that's coming in and out. And if you don't have a fast internet connection, that experience is horrible for people.